So we're going to learn a song so that we can sing it together after we have this conversation. So this is an adaptation by Alexandra Blahey, who took a poem from our dear friend Aurora Levins Morales called Summons and turned it into a song that I was very privileged to sing, getting arrested in DC sometime with other colleagues. And part of it is a call and response, and part of it is not. So it's a little tricky, but we're going to do it. So the call and response part goes like this. It goes, actually, I'll read the words first so you hear them. Last night I dreamed 10,000 grandmothers stepped in between the bombs and the families. They said, don't wait for your leaders to say, each life is precious. It'll have to be us. So those are the words. And the first part, most of it actually, is call and response. So it's going to go like this. Last night I dreamed. 10,000 grandmothers. 10,000 grandmothers. Stepped in between. The bombs and the families. They said, don't wait. For your leaders to say. Each life is precious. Each life is precious. Beautiful. That's the call and response. And then together we're going to sing. So we're going to do a call and response now, but then we're going to sing it together, okay? It'll have to be us. 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 One more time as a call and response, and we're going to try it together. Just that part. It'll have to be us. 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 Together, let's see if we can do it. Yeah, there's 6 different options for how that. I'm going to start. So it goes together. It'll have to be us. 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 One more time. It'll have to be us. 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 it's gorgeous. It sounds kind of unresolved at the end. I was just noticing that, but probably is how it should be. Thank you. So, people talk a lot about not being able to sleep these days, right? Whether because of rising fascism in this country or the atrocities in Gaza, the peace of sleep is guarded by a blaring conscience. I don't have that problem. First of all, I'm highly medicated, and on the off chance that that doesn't work, I say to myself, Alana, just think about what you want to say on Yom Kippur. Out like a light. I knew what I didn't want to say. I didn't want to talk about what other people are doing wrong, like people outside this room. And I knew whatever problem that we tackled, the answer couldn't be, besides coming to shul more, which we already covered, I knew the answer couldn't be that we all had to do more or work harder, right? Telling each other to do more is very 2019. I knew I needed to talk about Gaza, but I could not for the life of me figure out what to say that would be both real and useful. We know of at least one ancestor who also falls asleep when under duress. The reluctant prophet Jonah runs away from God, sailing away from his mission. The great scholar Aviva Zornberg describes the book of Jonah as a psychodrama. The ship is threatened by a great and terrifying storm, and the sailors, naturally enough, pray fervently, but not Jonah. Aviva Zornberg says, Jonah's only response is to lie prostrate in the ship's hold and fall into a stupor. Ve'yeradem, he fell asleep. The word contains within it yarad, he went down, he has gone down, regressed away from God's presence into a state, she says, of embryonic despair. Embryonic despair. What a phrase. Jonah seeks the soothing of the womb-like hull, allowing the sea to rock him into oblivion. Incredulous, the captain yells, "How can you sleep at a time like this? Kum kra, get up and call out to your God. Wake up. It's all hands on deck, literally." This is before the captain understands that the storm is actually Jonah's direct responsibility. And yet, it's hard to imagine something more urgent, more intense, than the imperative, kum, get up, kra, call out. It's impossible to talk about being awake today without talking about being woke. How did the word woke become a political lightning rod? The origin of the word in popular usage is traced to the blues singer Leadbelly in the 1930s in his song Scottsboro Boys. The ballad bears witness to the persecution of 4 black teenagers falsely accused of rape and condemned by an all-white jury to death. Only after years of imprisonment and political struggle and appeals were they freed. "It's a hard world down there in Alabama," Leadbelly said. "I made this little song about down there. I advise everybody, be a little careful when they go along through there. Best stay woke, keep their eyes open." For Leadbelly and others, stay woke meant stay vigilant, be on guard. Journalist Dionisia Roberson writes that the meaning of this term has never changed for its originators. Culturally, this admonition is handed down from generation to generation in the face of sustained white supremacist oppression and violence. It remains a deeply meaningful and empowering call to solidarity in Black culture. As a child, she says, I heard "stay woke" as constantly as "be good." So how did a term rooted in Black resilience and awareness become a political weapon and a driver of widespread divestiture across the social impact spectrum? The murder, she says, of Michael Brown in 2014 brought it to mainstream attention through the rallying cries of Black activists and community leaders. And since then, woke has been appropriated to political discourse, more often than not stripped of its original context and either morphed into a catch-all synonym for people and movements in support of broad social justice, or weaponized as a pejorative term to deride those same people and movements. I knew none of this history before researching this drash. It is so unfair that a word that was so needed for Black families to protect each other, for Black communities to communicate with one another, that word has been stolen and mocked. What a cruel twist that we now hear about woke mobs threatening white fragility, when woke was about white mobs threatening actual Black bodies. And what a cruel thing to take something as core to the mission of religious life, as straight up human as the desire for critical consciousness, and turn it into something sinister. Sinister and impossible. The right's perversion of wokeness takes the vigilance necessary to protect Black life and disfigures it into a practice that is punitive and overwhelming. We need to stay woke in the sense that was intended by Leadbelly and the leaders of the Black Lives Matter movement. We need to strive to understand the systems of white supremacy which endanger people of color in this country, to protect ourselves and the people we love. At the same time, wakefulness to violent systems around us comes with a challenge. It can lead to a kind of hypervigilance, especially when horrors are being live streamed daily. I was thinking back to 2009. Some friends organized a Yom Kippur retreat that would involve reckoning with the actions of the Israeli government. That year, a year that I was living in Israel, that year Oferet Yitzukah, Operation Cast Lead, had killed somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,200 Gazans and caused 100,000 to lose their homes. On the afternoon of the holiday, we were invited into a room set up like a gallery. Pictures of the carnage were taped to the walls. Silently, we moved from frame to frame. A blown-out mosque, a school on fire, corpses draped in cloth, a mother screaming. I asked those friends, now rabbinic colleagues serving shuls of their own, what they were trying to accomplish and whether they would do something similar now. They reflected that it felt important at that time to bear witness to the atrocities committed in our names. But this was before social media. So one had to actually go out of their way to confront these images, something that the participants had all consented to do. So no, they would not do something like this again, because we are confronted with these images daily. And while that exercise was powerful, their congregants today are not in need of agitation. They aren't looking away, or at least not more than necessary. And that points to what was so hard for me in trying to find a direction for this holiday. Clergy have adopted the adage from journalism that our responsibility is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. But many of us here are afflicted, and none of us is truly comfortable. We carry around these addictive mini computers that anytime we open them, which we do frequently, threaten to overwhelm us with fresh horrors. The social scientist Paul Slovic coined the term psychic numbing, to describe the tendency for people to feel less compassion or emotional response as the number of victims rises. Seeing one person in distress often provokes a strong response. When many suffer, our sensitivity decreases. They did this study that they would tell some heartbreaking story about what was happening to one person, one child, typically, and X number of people would donate. Then they would tell the same story about two children, siblings. The number of people that donated, half. 1 to 2. 1 to 2. Half. And I have to say something now that might be messy because it's very fresh. I did not plan to look at the news this morning. 2 people are dead in Manchester, England. 2 Jews at prayer. And the perpetrator, it seems. I was checking something else and saw a message from a colleague, right, saying he was in solidarity with us, praying for our community this morning. And I have to wonder if it hadn't been 2 people, if it had been 1. Would my heart break more right now? I mean, that's what the science says. The more suffering, the more our sensitivity decreases. I mean, I was just thinking about how can that be true? How could 1 to 2 make such a difference? And I was just thinking that I can kind of wrap my head around the impact of 1 life lost. I can kind of imagine it like the ripples of impact. But even going from 1 to 2, it just, the brain wants to take a nap. You know? Did I feel differently once the death toll in Gaza rose from 1,000 to 5,000? 10,000 to 20,000? 30,000 to 40,000, 50,000 to 60,000 souls. The science says that yes, not just do I not care more, I care less. And these psychological truths are spiritually damning, certainly, but it gets worse. The more people impacted by something, the more helpless I will feel, and the less I will be spurred to action. Right? So if it was just emotions, but this has a direct relationship with our ability to act. A decade ago, Edward O. Wilson, the father of sociobiology, said, "The real problem of humanity is the following. We have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology." He said that a decade ago. Technology ethicist Tristan Harris responds, "With our Paleolithic instincts, we are simply unable to resist technology's gifts. this compromises our ability to take collective action. That's because our Paleolithic brains aren't built for omniscient awareness of the world's suffering. Our online news feeds aggregate all of the world's pain and cruelty, dragging our brains into a kind of learned helplessness. Technology, he says, technology that provides us with near complete knowledge without a commensurate level of agency isn't humane. It's not humane. So, we are in a terrible bind. Our access to information far eclipses our ability to make change, threatening us with an overwhelming sense of powerlessness, embryonic despair. What we really need to figure out this year is how we can metabolize what we're awake to so we can stay with it. Right? Outsmart our psychic numbing defenses. Knowledge is only power if we have the tools to digest the information, right? What are our tools? What are our tools? And gratefully, this season offers multiple. Like we discussed before, tshuva, tefillah, tzedakah. Let's look at tefillah, prayer. Though I'll sometimes use the word Yiddish, the Yiddish word daven, because it's more natural to me and it may help to avoid some Christian connotations about prayer, which there's no problem with them. They're just a little different. It's pretty clear from the tradition that davening, like we talked about before, isn't really about trying to get God to do stuff for us. Lehit palel is a reflexive verb. It's about what's going on inside. It's a place to cry out. Agency and control aren't the same thing, right? Agency is, I'm not in control of this situation, but I can still ask for and seek what I need, what the world needs. And I wonder if prayerfulness could cultivate that. Somewhere between the shutdown of sleep and the vigilance of wokeness, there's a state of consciousness where we can claim and create sanctuary temporarily so we can soften, integrate, call out. And here, what if this sanctuary is not only a place where we individually and collectively cry out, but also a place to be able to turn to one another for help, processing, and metabolizing, to turn towards each other and say, I saw something this week that tore me apart. Can you hold it with me? Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel was once asked by a journalist why he, as a religious leader, had come to a demonstration against the war in Vietnam. And Heschel answered, I am here because I cannot pray. I cannot pray because whenever I open the prayer book, I see images of children burning from napalm. And I kind of can't believe that I'm quibbling with the greatest Jewish prophet of the 20th century, but perhaps in 2025, prayer is actually the most potent, healthy, I don't know, possible. Maybe prayer is actually the place where we choose to encounter those images, to let ourselves feel our heartbreak and rage, to allow ourselves to be summoned into consciousness, not the urgent, "Kum, get up" of the ship's captain, but the gentle "Hitoreri, hitoreri," awake, awake, of the love song, Lecha Dodi. So since we've already agreed that you'll be coming to Shul more, I want to invite you to use that space, that rare space, to resist psychic numbing. Leave your phone in the car. Don't risk pop-ups. Don't risk information you didn't choose, so that we can choose. But come with stories to share, with testimony that simply cannot be integrated alone. Integrate it here. We will listen. We will hold these stories together, help each other live awake. We have to do it. But we don't have to do it alone. And if you do it here in prayer, there will be someone available to hug you when you're done. But if you take anything away from this conversation, let it be that it is more than okay to set intentions, to set boundaries around the ways you allow the horrors to enter your psyche. It's more than okay. It may mean the difference between burnout and being ready to take brave and strategic action when the time comes. We need you whole. Here we are on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, the day on which we are the most awake. No food to numb us, no sex to sedate us, no leather to comfort us, no ointments to distract us. Tradition even says we should avoid beds during this time. We are forced to face ourselves and face each other, face the truth. And that is really hard work. So I beg you, beloveds, to sleep tonight. Because if we don't sleep, we don't dream, and if we don't dream, we don't daven, and if we don't daven, then our compassion muscles atrophy, and we succumb to numbness. So sleep. Because if we sleep, we can dream. And if we can dream, we can daven. And if we can daven, we can exercise our heart so that it can hold it all. Last night I dreamed 10,000 grandmothers stepped in between the bombs and the families. They said, don't wait. For your leaders to say. Each life is precious. It'll have to be us. 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 It'll have to be Ya-dai-dai-dum. Ya-dai-dai-dai-dum. Hi-dai-dai-dum. Hi-ya-dai-dum. Hi-dai-dai-dum. Hi-dai-dai-dai-dai. Hi-dai-dai-dai. It'll have to be us.